We're halfway through our mission to reinvent Avebury Manor.
Mind the plants. You can tread on anything else except the plants.
We want to change the way we visit stately homes, so everything can be sat on, played with, and enjoyed by visitors.
Is this before or after you've had dinner?
We're making things from scratch, with just a few antiques in the mix. This will be a National Trust property like no other.
Wow!
This one is all about complete interaction with people.
This week,
I'm not terribly good at this.
silk furnishings by royal appointment.
Off to China to commission hand-painted wallpaper.
This is just mind-blowing.
And a porcelain tea service.
I'm not happy with this design.
Passions run high about what's right.
Time and time again.
And what's wrong.
Coming face to face with the Queen, who came to Avebury.
And a slimy invasion of the garden threatens to shut us down.
At this late stage, it's really not what we wanted.
Will our Victorian kitchen garden ever open?
I got him!
Sunrise over the hop fields of Worcestershire, and our head gardener, David Howard, is here to sort out the beer for our garden opening day, just 6 weeks away if we're to beat the first frost.
I have to say I haven't got up at 4 a.m. for a long, long time, but it's wonderful being here, seeing the sunrise. Truly special experience.
Hops first became popular in England under Henry VIII, so it's a perfect plant for Tudor Avebury Manor.
It's my intention that I would put it on the walls of the garden, on those wires that normally we would reserve for fruit trees and roses. And I'd like to have it on view, because there's an awful lot of members of the public who have never actually seen a hop.
Who knows, before long we could be brewing our own beer at Avebury. For now, we'll have to buy it in for opening day. David's also got his eye on some empty beer barrels for water butts in our organic garden. Back at the manor, David and the volunteers face a hard day's graft. It's time to get building.
Volunteers, could you assist, please? We've got 25 minutes to put a shed up. Yeah, mind the plants. You can tread on anything else except the plants.
David's donated his second best shed to the garden.
Yeah. Spot on.
Just take our time, we'll be all right.
Right, you can go straight through the middle of the courgette bed, just don't step on the plants.
It may not be beautiful, but you can't have a working garden without a potting shed. And it's time for the Victorian glass house to go up, replacing one that was lost years ago. Our brick foundations will sit on exactly the same spot. It will enable the growing of seedlings throughout the year.
We'll put the top on before we put it up, and then we'll put the top on the other end, then we can get the roof on. Joe, up the ladder. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, it's not bowling.
Just let me have one leg.
Steady, we don't want to lose a man. One up, one to go. Our west-facing Victorian glasshouse will retain the heat of the afternoon long after the sun has set. It was the Victorians who came up with the idea of prefabricated glass houses. Gardeners were no longer ruled by the unpredictability of the British climate. All it needs now is David's approval.
It's looking good. I can see a 21st century Victorian glasshouse. It's looking fantastic.
The house is going to open a month after the garden, but we're still up against it. In the Queen Anne bedroom, we're designing our most ambitious piece of furniture, a bed fit for a queen. It's going to have an immense dome. Designer Russell Sage has to get the measurements absolutely right.
So now show us the back of the bed kicked in underneath this cornice. We need to let the carpenter know the height of the bed there, down, because that's the measurement I can work with Dave on quite easily.
It's tricky because the bed must sit against the wall but also fit neatly beneath the curve of the ceiling. Getting the arc of the dome right is crucial.
How high do you want this bit and that?
Well, that's what we're
Give you the
actually we're
height of the
determining
post.
now. If we take this over here, if we make the bedpost 250, that definitely has to fit within under there, because those back posts will kick in underneath that.
8.7 foot, 2.6 metres.
Get me to go through and then tell me how much room there is above the dome to the ceiling.
The most worrying thing is we won't really know if our calculations are correct until the bed's put together and in the room. Just down the road in Chippenham, Arthur Cole's blacksmiths are already at work on the dome. The steel frame will be 6 feet across and just under 3 feet high. With everything riding on the measurements, Russell's understandably nervous, so he's keeping a close eye on things.
Hi all.
Hello, Russell.
Guy, it's huge. Is that really the right size?
That is the right size.
Oh my god. Well, it's certainly going to be impressive.
Made to your drawing.
Oh no, I know. It's just kind of... Well, as long as it fits, it's going to be amazing. Gosh, I'm really scared now it's not going to fit. But I'm sure it is. We've done our maths. It's fine.
You can have a go with my tape measure if you like.
No, I'm sure it's the right size. It just looks massive.
If it's not right, you turn it upside down and use it as a hanging basket.
Yeah, exactly. The world's biggest hanging basket.
Hanging basket or dome? We'll see. Now it's off to the carpenter to find out if it fits the bed frame. On the journey, some easy listening, courtesy of none other than Penelope.
BBC Wiltshire.
The time now is exactly 3:30. It's BBC Wiltshire. I'm Sue Davis, and actress Penelope Keith joins us live in the studio this afternoon. It is Penelope Keith. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you. What a lovely day.
It is a lovely day, isn't it? So tell us about your connection with Avery Manor. What were your sort of first impressions of the place?
Well, first impression going in, because it was totally empty. The fascinating thing about it is we are
Transforming it for 4 definite periods. There's Tudor, Georgian, pre-war and post-war. I mean, pre-First World War.
And the important thing as well is you want people to get involved in this too. And there's going to be, I think, a quite glamorously titled Pots and Pans Day.
It's a really good title, that, isn't it? Pots and Pans Day.
And this is the 3rd of September, so explain to us what Pots and Pans Day actually is.
Well, there's this very large kitchen, and of course
We need equipment from pre-1914. Pots, pans, jelly moulds, baskets, all those sorts of things that are pre-1914.
And on the 3rd of September, there's going to be a marquee in the grounds of Avebury, and from 10 a.m. till 5 p.m. there will be people there to receive and look at all the equipment. It'll also be filmed, so people could be on the television if they really wanted to.
I'm thinking get dressed up for that
There
occasion
you are,
then.
wearing your best bib and tucker, because you will be on film.
And perhaps some makeup in my case. It's the best we can hope for.
Just a little.
Just a tad. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon.
Travel. BBC Wiltshire.
Let's see what's happening on Wiltshire's roads now, coming up after Fleetwood Mac.
I hope that does the trick. It's quite a tall order to ask people to bring us stuff for free, but there's all hands on deck at the moment.
It's crunch time. Will it fit? The frame has been made from old bedposts, while the rest is new wood. And it won't matter a bit, because it'll all end up covered in silk. It's enormous and weighs 4 stone, but Carpenter Dave has got Mrs. Lyons in to do the heavy work.
Right.
Behind every strong man...
You like this, Sue?
It's a good job we bought our chief technician.
Now, what happens when it all goes wrong and it slices Dave into 6?
Got it?
Are you alright to take the weight of it like that?
Yep.
Shall I go in behind you?
Steady on, steady on.
I'm still alright to stand on this frame, aren't I?
No.
No?
Russell, don't stand up.
Why?
What do you mean? That shows faith in your husband's workmanship.
Here we go.
And I look, see, it's not reaching, is it?
Just unscrew it from that end.
Just a bit, just a bit.
It won't. Oh, sorry.
Keep it on edge because it'll buckle. And we'll just turn it round so that nib is there. No, I don't know why it's not reaching either.
Oh dear.
No, you just lay it down on its side now and walk it down. Okay, now take the sash cramp out.
All together?
Yeah.
Are you sure? I'm being nervous. Oh, there we go. We're done. It's fine.
Fits a treat. Look at that.
Right. Dave, get out from under it now.
Well done. So with the bed frame complete, it's on to the silk weavers.
In Suffolk, Gainsborough makes silk by royal appointment. Where better to get our hangings for the Queen Anne bed? This virgin silk is being dyed crimson to give the bed its majestic look.
And who chose this colour?
That was me. I rather love it.
pleased?
I do love it. I do love it.
After dyeing, the silk must be stretched, untangled and smoothed.
Now, Sue, you're responsible for all these, are you?
Because it's been dyed, all the skeins have been twiddled up.
Yeah. So
you
what do you
put
have to do first?
It's called a reese, but we call it a banger.
And why? Because you bang it.
It bangs.
That's very good.
You take it off, you hold it both ends.
Right.
Because the silk's very static.
I understand. Gosh, well, I think I understand.
This green silk will make our dining room curtains.
Do you want to have a go?
Right.
So you lift that up, so you hook it
I've
onto the...
caught it in a ring.
Because you've got your hand on the wrong side, you need your hand this side.
Oh. Right. Now I start banging. That is the bit
Get
I'm
it to the middle.
Yes.
And as you're springing it,
Yeah.
keep pulling it out, bring it towards you.
Yeah.
That's it. Lovely. Look at that.
Look at that. Oh! God, I'm cack-handed.
Avebury will be furnished with 540 square yards of new silk.
I'm not terribly good at this. No. I haven't been doing it for very long, Sue. Don't laugh at me. I've done it. No, I've done it.
You're a winder.
I'm a winder, laughs.
In an artist's studio in trendy North London, Thomasina Smith is painting a royal portrait. Queen Anne may have been dead for 300 years, but Thomasina is not deterred. Her pictures are known to millions. They hang in the halls of Hogwarts in the Harry Potter films. As inspiration, Thomasina is using the triple-headed portrait of Charles I by Van Dyck.
The photocopy is really there as a drawing. All the paint, all that's there will be covered by paint eventually. So it's like a base drawing, and it's a technique that I sometimes use when I'm doing film design. You know, obviously I don't have Queen Anne in front of me. It's very useful when I'm using old paintings as a starting point. I just need to get rid of this horrible white modern canvas. So, you know, historically I'm not painting it in the right order. I'm just blocking this out so then I can start to paint the faces. The effect that I want to get is the faces kind of coming out of the darkness. I want the background to play, but not too strongly. And what we've discussed is just putting in a sort of Van Dyck type landscape. So I'll work on that probably towards the end as well, putting in the foliage and stuff.
The River Nene in Northamptonshire. I've come to go punting with Russell, but this is no leisurely day out. We're about to start work on our Tudor rush matting. We'll be in the capable hands of expert Felicity Irons. Hello.
Can I introduce you to Felicity?
What a lovely tan as well, look at that. I see we're dressed properly for
Fantastic,
it.
I'm almost dressed properly for it.
Typical interior design.
Yeah.
That's all I can say. An artist. Felicity harvests bulrushes throughout the summer months, and her team is already hard at work. What's your dog called?
Her name's Molly.
Oh, bless.
I've only had her for 3 weeks, so it's all a bit new for her. Dog may well jump on.
Oh.
Hello.
What a beautiful dog.
Yeah, she's quite sweet. Molly?
Right, Felicity, you've got two attentive pupils. Yeah. Lesson 1.
Carefully balanced.
How do we cut the bulrushes? What are you going to use?
We have a 2-3 foot long blade on a very long handle because often we're cutting 4 or 5 foot below the waterline.
So you cut as low as possible?
Yeah, you need to get the blade right on the river bed. So if I just put the blade in,
And
you go round and you can feel the riverbed.
Yeah. And then...
And you make one cut.
And that's it.
And then carefully drag in without cutting them again with the other side of the blade.
So there's a dexterity and a skill involved in that little bit, isn't there?
Yeah.
Really? Okay, who's going to have a go?
Paul! Okay. So what I want you to do is to stand upright, use the full length of the handle, get the blade right on the river again, and pull.
You knew that was going to...
leave both of us behind.
You knew that was going to happen. Yeah, let's get some weight behind it.
It's not as easy as it looks, is it? Pull yourself in.
I'm going to, yeah. I was too far out.
Okay, now try. That's better. No. Okay.
I was very disappointed with my cutting efforts there. It was poor, wasn't it, Russell? It was very bad.
I was just impressed that you actually did it, not me. I just had the hot water bottle.
Once harvested, the bulrushes are put out to dry. Now Felicity is about to weave her magic. What a beautiful building.
It's fantastic, isn't it? I call this my cathedral to Rush, because by the end of harvest it is absolutely full. Right, if you can hold on to that for me. You will always work from the outside edge in, and you're always adding in, so we need to add in rush straight away so that you keep its width. Push in, and then you're working from the outside edge, so it's over, under, over, under, and you're in the middle.
Yeah.
And you're going over, under.
I couldn't do that. You make that look so easy.
Arriving at the house is painter extraordinaire Mark Sands. He's going to bring one of the smallest rooms in the house back to life. It's just off the Queen Anne bedroom, so it's getting a right royal makeover. We're copying a wallpaper of the early 1700s. But we are going to stencil and paint the design directly onto the walls. The first task is to do what every teenager dreams of doing to their bedroom: painting the walls black. Don't worry, it's all part of the plan. Mark practices the design first. This is how it should look when it's finished. There'll be some added extras. Mark wants to include details from our kitchen garden as well as other parts of Avebury.
This is an old herb flower called a borage. Beautiful colour. Definitely would have been around in the time period of this room. Quite a nice form.
Not forgetting, of course, the Avebury stones. It's a very grand design for a small room.
Ever since it's been decided that this marvellous Georgian room is going to be the governor of Jamaica's dining room, Russell has been rather excited. He wants to wow the visitors, and I'm sure he will. This room is going to be a major player in the whole house. His intention is to line all of these walls with a handmade, bespoke Chinese wallpaper. Now, back in Adam Williams's day, in the late 1700s, there was nothing more fashionable, luxurious, and exotic.
So I've come to Shanghai in China on my way to see the paper Russell's commissioned. Our wallpaper will be a mix of old and new images of ancient China, the Silk Route, and the trades of tea and porcelain. Modern China has a very urban feel to it. But you can find old China if you venture out beyond the big cities. My journey brings me to Wuxi in the Jiangsu province. I'm meeting up with Tim Butcher, whose Fromental studio is making the hand-painted wallpaper for Avebury Manor, using traditional Chinese methods.
And now where the magic really happens. Gosh. And this has been...
Hi, ni hao. What's this chap?
Xinchen is just painting in the first layer. You can see we've marked out some of the figures and we're just starting to build up the detail.
Nice fluid brush strokes.
Oh, you can see the precision. I mean, painting figures is a particular skill, and Xinchen is one of our better artists of this type of work.
There's a lot of confidence in that brush stroke.
Absolutely, and that just comes obviously from years of practice and craft. The artist will work with 2 or even 3 brushes at a time in the hand, and then shifting from either one colour to another or between the water and the paint. And the brush has to flow and go exactly where you want it to, and you're sort of in control and part of it.
And he is a true master of his genre with years of experience. A very, very talented chap. Would Xinchen mind if I had a go?
Not at all. Come on. Okay, Xinchen, maybe Paul can have a trial.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Now, don't forget, you only get 1 shot.
Should I just carry on shading
just
this
underneath the hand there and just filling in the pink? Even just doing a small, you get an idea of the scale of the project. This is one garment of one figure of one panel, and this is just the first layer of the paint.
Layer upon layer of paint is built up on each of our 25 panels. Every painter specialises in a different aspect of the work. Some paint trees, others paint figures, and so on, until they have created an entire scene.
Have you got a full drop yet?
We can take a look at one which we prepared earlier.
Oh my gosh, this is the first time I've seen our Avebury wallpaper.
This is it.
I cannot believe how beautiful that is. I'm tingling inside. And this is just one drop.
Just one piece. That would be about 80 hours of painting time. You walk in and you see the drama of the broader painting, but then you walk up and you've got the secondary level of detail in every face, every feature.
It's just so exciting. There's so much vitality and life here.
In 100 years' time, I hope people are still walking into the dining room in Avebury and gasping at the beauty of it.
The wallpaper is an exquisite piece of Chinese artistry, and I can't wait to see it on the walls of our manor back in rural Wiltshire.
In our Victorian kitchen garden, David and his volunteers are hard at work preparing for Garden Open Day, now only 4 weeks away. It's time for our first harvest. But there's one little helper in the garden David is missing. And I'm going to bring that helper back. It's the most important insect for any garden, and they're not exactly flourishing at the moment.
Hello, good morning.
I'm here to meet local bee expert, Fee Robinson.
It is lovely, isn't it? Very lucky to be here.
Yes, isn't it?
Come down and see our bees.
So this is part of your domain, Fee, is it?
These are part of our club bees, yes.
Now, why are you so interested in bees?
Well, originally because of the honey. I love honey, and it's the only food source we get from insects. But I think the more you get into it, the more you learn, the more absolutely interesting and fascinating they are. Pollination is a big issue for us. If we didn't have bees, then we wouldn't have as much interesting food as we have now.
Yes. Could I have a look in a hive?
Of course you can, yes, but I think we'll get you suited up first.
Right.
Yes.
Fine.
Well, I won't be winning any prizes for this ensemble.
So we lift it up. So the hive is made up. We've got a brood box. That's where the queen bee lives, where she lays all her eggs.
Look at them all. How many bees in a hive?
At this time of year, you're looking at easily 60,000 bees in a full colony.
How much honey can you get from one comb?
From a comb, you're looking about 2 or 3 pounds. But each bee, in its lifetime, will only collect about 1/12 of a teaspoon.
Really?
So when you put your honey on your toast in the morning,
you must think
a lot of bees went into making that.
Yes, of course. Oh, wow, isn't that wonderful? These are all worker bees?
They're all workers.
And how far would they fly?
Your hive will travel something like 90,000 miles, 3 times around the world in bee miles, to make a kilogram of honey.
Gosh.
So again,
we must appreciate honey more.
Yes. This cap, that's baby bees in there, larva that's waiting to come out.
I see. Oh, she has been doing her job, Mrs. Green, hasn't she?
There she is.
Gosh, there she is.
Depending on her, if we lose her, then
so we better
put
her back to sleep.
Put her safely back in the hive.
Please. So tell me, we would like bees in our garden at Avebury. Could you install a hive for us?
We could. We've got a couple of nucleus hives over there that we could use. That would be lovely to put them into Avebury.
Excellent. We'll take them both. This is the Tudor parlour, and a big challenge to get right. We want to reflect the personality of Avebury Manor's first occupant, William Dunch, a self-made man of the 1560s who rose from minor official to royal courtier. We need colour, and let's be honest, a bit of Tudor bling. The Church of St. Peter's in Little Wittenham, Oxfordshire, where Anna's come to look William Dunch in the face.
This brass is from the tomb of William Dunch, and it's really important because it's the only surviving picture that we have of him and his family. It's really great because finally I get to meet him, or at least see him. We have Mary, his wife, here, kneeling in prayer, and behind him his 2 sons, Edmund and Walter. And this is William himself. Short hair, a big beard, a ruff, all the rage in Tudor England. Now this brass was commissioned towards the end of William's extraordinary life, a life in which he'd managed to survive turbulent Tudor times and literally managed to keep his head when so many were losing theirs. And he would raise himself up from a position of obscurity to one of wealth, power and status in Tudor high society. It was quite an achievement.
For a style-conscious courtier, we are going to pull out all the stops. Fine tapestries were the most showy and expensive of possessions in the Tudor age. Where better to go than the home of Henry VIII? Hampton Court Palace houses the finest tapestries in Britain. Owned by Her Majesty the Queen, the Abraham tapestries are part of the royal collection. I don't think Anna is expecting to borrow these incredibly fragile tapestries. But maybe there is a way Avebury can have a piece of them.
So, Kate, tell me what we've got here. Glorious tapestry. What does it depict?
What we have is we've got 6 of a set of 10 tapestries from 1540s.
Henry VIII.
Commissioned by Henry VIII for this very great hall. They depict the story of Abraham, which is a narrative that Henry chose to cement his new role as head of the Church of England.
So these would have been in here?
These would have been
in the
here
16th century.
For special occasions, coronations, weddings, births, etc. Very special occasions.
And I mean, they look gorgeous. However, things are not exactly what they seem.
They're not, because they're in fact facsimiles of the famous Abraham tapestry set.
Like the ultimate photocopy.
It's the ultimate photocopy. Printed onto linen.
Now why on earth? But we have the originals.
We have the originals behind.
Okay.
And the reason we have these...
Oh my goodness, wow.
These facsimiles is to protect the tapestries for this 10-month period when we're doing the building works.
Gosh. So tell me, who did you get to do this? How did they do it?
We commissioned a company, Zardi & Zardi, that specializes in creating modern prints of historic textiles. And they took a photograph of each of the 6 tapestries. They printed this photograph image onto linen to create these facsimiles of the original tapestry.
So what do the visitors make of it? Are they fooled?
Unexpectedly, they are fooled, I think.
Well, I mean, it's amazing. It's an absolutely stunning impression. And, you know, if it's good enough for here, I think it's going to be good enough for Avebury. So thank you.
So, off to Lancashire to get our very own Abraham tapestries. Amazingly high-resolution digital technology means in some ways the copies will end up even better than the 500-year-old originals.
So we've picked up a thread here on the screen, so we can take this out and hopefully be back to the original, how the original was.
It's the moment heritage meets 21st century technology. Perfect for Avebury.
We can make it as good as new.
When all the adjustments are done, the artwork is printed onto linen.
On the machine here we've got 6 heads, which allows us to produce 6 colours, and from each one of them nozzles we've got 54,000 nozzles in between there, so that's how fine it is. With the software we've got 2 blues, we've got a red, we've got a yellow and a black, and from there we've got a colour book of 10,000 colours, which allows us to print over 16 million colours on an image file such as the tapestries. Originally it was over 8 years to do one of these tapestries, and we've narrowed that down with technology and the speed of the machines down to 6 weeks, which is amazing if you think about that, what we can do today.
Amazing indeed, the wonders of modern technology. Meanwhile, at Avebury, it's back to good old-fashioned pencil and paper. Grant is recreating the Dunch family coats of arms, and rather than paint directly onto the walls, a no-no from the Trust, he's using a matching piece of salvage panelling. So this is an ingenious solution. Complementing our tapestries hanging on the walls, the heraldic panelling will sit above the fireplace, proclaiming to the world that William Dunch has arrived. Last thing on our Tudor parlour shopping list is the furniture. In rural Herefordshire is the workshop of master carpenter Guy Butcher. Russell and Dan are here to commission chairs, benches, stools and a table. It will be the oldest style furniture in the house and all brand new.
Well, of course, the point being, I suppose, it's really hard to get furniture of the 1560s. I mean, the authentic stuff is rare, expensive. So, and also, if it was there, of course, the public couldn't really sit in it, could they? That's the thing. So this is the objective, to make new in the spirit.
Well, I think also just to kind of explore how it was made originally is the most interesting thing for me. And use people today that would have been doing exactly the same crafts as they were doing 500 years ago.
So it's material, it's means of construction, peg joints, and it's the ornamentation.
Yes,
Get that right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
Guy, hi. How are you? Nice to see you again.
And you?
This is Dan Cruikshank,
Hi, Dan.
who's my historical expert. Yeah, Guy very helpfully sent me some images of pieces he liked, and also you were aware of had some locality to Avebury.
This is really just the starting point to work from.
This is a little blueprint of detail.
What's intriguing is looking at this, to what degree you can reduce the ornamentation without actually diminishing the whole thing, make it a sort of not a sort of parody, but
well, I started with this one, and this has got a very intricately carved I think what they call Romaine work, which is typical of that period, but I've taken that away but kept the construction and everything else pretty much the same, and just replaced the panel in the back with a raised field panel, which again I found in chairs of that period.
I feel that you all make these things come to life to your joy in making them, because I've always the thing, joy in labour. If you love making it, then it lives. If it's a merely slavish copy and boring, then it won't. But you feel that you will.
I want to make them look as authentic as possible for the period, partly, but I also want them to be beautiful things. I don't want them to look right, but
they'll be made with love.
I can do it, yeah, no problem.
On the other side of the world, Paul's continuing his quest for Oriental treasures.
My trip to China's not over just yet. I'm heading further south to the Jiangxi province in search of more exotic luxuries to bring back to Avebury Manor.
This time my journey takes me to what the Chinese call the Porcelain City.
This is Ginger Jen, and they've been making porcelain here for 1,000 years, basically ever since it was invented. And it's known in China and throughout the world as the porcelain capital. And now I'm here, well, I understand why, because I'm surrounded by it. It's on sale everywhere, from period pieces to present-day pieces. And there are even little hand carts moving around this busy corner, transporting it. In fact, even the street lamps are made of porcelain.
It wasn't until the middle of the 18th century that the British discovered the secret of making porcelain. And even today, there's nothing quite like the real thing from China. I'm heading for one of the many hundreds of porcelain workshops in the old part of the town to commission a tea service for Avebury's Adam Williamson.
So over here you can see Mr. Wang carving your Avebury sugar bowl.
Wonderful, absolutely
turning it
wonderful.
Down to the exact shape that would be typical of a 1790s piece.
Getting it down to that thinness.
That's right, in the right shape.
Hello, Mr. Wang. Hello. Hey. I don't want to disturb him and put him off what he's doing.
Yeah, it takes a lot of skill, this.
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Wang actually owns this workshop and has been in the porcelain trade, starting with sculpture, for almost 30 years now.
Wow. And you can tell, can't you? Look at that.
Yes.
And all of this is just done by feel.
Feel and sound. Occasionally he'll pick it up and tap it to see whether it's got the right thickness. Would you like to give it a try?
If Mr. Wang doesn't mind.
你介意吗？可以。可以哈。He says that's fine. Give it a whirl.
Will you tell him it would be an honour? I'd love to have a go. I really would.
他非常高兴能试试。
Yeah? Can I sit on your little chair as well? Thank you, Miss. Oh, it was a good start. I fall over everything. Okay.
Yeah, the Chinese are the greatest acrobats.
This, I didn't fall on this.
You need a hand?
No, I'm fine, thanks, Ben. Gosh. Thank you. This feels marvellous. It really does, yeah. With what feels like the blade of an old sword rubbing against the side of my cheek. How's that? Good? Thank you. Thank you very much. Mr. Wang, you're genius.
你是天才。
Thank you.
He does it every day.
Wow. It'll be at least a month before the Chinese wallpaper and the porcelain are ready to ship home. Let's hope it arrives in time, fingers crossed. Or as they say here, Shi Weng Lu to see her.
Back in Avebury, our Victorian kitchen garden is once again a battlefield. The rabbits are back, and David is on the warpath. Where is the furry fellow?
He's in there. He's in there. Get him out. Get him out. Get him out. There he goes. He's back in here. Oh, here he is. Whoa! Where is it now?
He's right in front of you. There.
Yeah, wait.
Careful. Run for it.
Across here.
Oh.
Down this path.
Now treat him gently. Careful, David. Little thing.
Not necessary. I got him. I got him. I got him.
He's not happy.
I'm not sure what its name is, but it's going out of the garden. We're going to give it a new life, so let's go and put it out in the field. Eviction order. Ah, no, you stay there. You're not going anywhere. So, little rabbit, new lease of life. Off we go. Come on.
He'll be back. Up and down the country, craftsmen and women are working round the clock for Avebury Manor. In Gloucester, Amir is well ahead with our Tudor furniture. Felicity is weaving and stitching our rush matting. In Somerset, Dave is working on the mouldings for the top of our Queen Anne bed. And the dome is fitting nicely. In London, Thomasina is putting the final touches to the Queen Anne portrait. Very regal. And there are new residents in our kitchen garden.
It's fantastic getting bees back. It's all part of the harmony that exists here in the garden. It's all part of the organic approach, and I look forward to the honey.
At last, it's Pots and Pans Day. How exciting! We've called in an Antiques A-team. Penny Britton from the Antiques Roadshow is here. Ivan Day, food historian extraordinaire. And our very own kitchen range restorer, Neville Griffiths. There's just one problem.
Nobody's here, not one person. But it's early days. this could be slightly worrying.
Well, hey, an hour and a half in and someone's turned up.
Chris, you're first in the queue.
Oh, yeah, I know. Yeah.
Is that because you're working here today?
It is because I'm working here, yeah.
Oh, look at this.
Yes,
lovely.
Yeah.
It's rather heavy. It's not full of toffees, but it says toffees on the outside.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. Is that a mincer?
It is a mincer, yeah, and I brought it in on behalf of Rose Smith, one of my volunteers I work with here.
Chops every kind of meat, raw or cooked, vegetables, fruit and nuts.
Amazing, eh? Yeah.
At last, we're up and running.
Where did you find that?
They're from a local antique shop.
It's not a family heirloom. You didn't have a housekeeper or a butler in the family?
Sadly not, no.
Yeah.
I'm more below stairs myself.
Oh, one thing I would say, it's in very, very good condition, isn't it?
Yes, it has been used quite a lot.
And you used to put your beans into this?
Absolutely right.
Yes, a bean slicer.
Yes.
You've looked after it really well, apart from the spider that's trapped inside.
What spider?
Well, these are some scales with imperial weight.
Right, with imperial weight.
Oh, what in the village 30 years? Really? Oh, do come through.
I remember my son finding some of mine. He and his friend were playing ping pong.
Sacrilege.
Fabulous, isn't it pretty?
Yes, they're sort of fond of, but I mean, they're just sort of sitting around at home and nobody sees them.
I like this bucket very much.
I've persuaded my family to bring along a rather fine fire bucket, just in case the range goes up in flames.
If there was a fire, you'd put the water in the bucket and put the fire out. The basic bucket dates from the late 18th century. So
perfect for our house,
it's
yeah?
perfect for the house.
Thank you, Dylan, for finding. He wants to go.
Oh, well, it's quality, not quantity. And we've got some lovely pieces for which we're very grateful. Well, Paul shouldn't be surprised, should he?
Don't you think that programs like yours make people think about how much items are worth?
I do think, though, today, looking at what we've got,
yeah, jolly nice.
We have got away with it. Just.
Things are going a lot better for David.
We will see hops in the garden. The Victorians would have loved that.
And there's a delivery for garden opening day, just a week away.
Some beer on the back?
Some beer?
Yep.
That sounds interesting. Hello.
But as everything seems to be coming together, there's a major setback.
Oh. There's something in here. Now that's interesting.
Work has stopped here on the glass house for the moment. We can't put the floor in the glass house, we can't put the paving down because we have newts. We're not quite sure yet what will happen next. We're waiting for advice. This close to the completion of the garden, it's really not what we wanted.
The big question is, are they common newts or the protected crested newts? If they're crested, they will shut us down and garden opening day is off. So, it's down tools till we find out the identity of our slimy, uninvited guests. In the house, Grant is working late on the Tudor heraldry.
It's 10:30, and I don't have to be working this late really, but I'd just rather get on top of it and try and hit the deadline. Because we've got other things to do after this. And time's ticking a little bit. Just block in some of the main shapes and then varnish it all, ready to possibly do some lining in the morning. And touch up some of these dodgy bits on the wood before I varnish it. And we'll see what the wood will all look like.
And in the small room, Mark is also trying to catch up. The stenciling is intense work.
Little poodle. Hello.
This process would be a lot quicker and easier nowadays if we just had a spray can, sprayed it within a few strokes. We can have this all done. But because we're trying to keep authentic to the period, we're using the more traditional techniques. Once they've dried, we've glazed them, we can bring in some quite stronger colours that would have been used in those days over the top, and it gives them a nicer luminosity. Okay. Okay, so we can see it's quite a crude stencil, but it does the effect.
It looks as though the boys are in for a long night. Senior ecologist Gina Reynolds is here to identify our visitors.
Yeah, he's found a great crested newt, female. You can tell it's a great crested newt by the size and also by the colour. Great crested newts also have very orange underbellies, so you can see, and these lovely orange painted toenails. I'm going to pop it back where we found it, and we're going to contact the regulators, Natural England, to find out how we need to proceed legally with the works.
It's disastrous news. Our only hope now is to prove to the regulators the newts are only in the glasshouse and not the rest of the garden. With only days to go until opening, we'll be forced to delay. In Denham, in Buckinghamshire, Russell has brought the top of the Queen Anne bed to show Dan. They disagree on the details of the moulding. Dan wants to be historically precise, while Russell prefers a theatrical interpretation. Dan wants to be historically precise, while Russell prefers a theatrical interpretation.
The problem is that the cornice is not quite right for it.
But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because, but you know, it's an interesting discussion, isn't it? Because for me, we've done everything we can. We know we're on a.
Okay, we just talk. Well, there's a classical language, Russell.
Yeah.
And which means that all we need to do is add a moulding or two to this design.
We've done all of our research.
We just need to get it right, Russell.
And I totally agree, but we've done all our research, and actually we've got to a point where...
As we stand, this isn't a classical profile for Queen Anne bed. It's not in the classical language. It matches 100%. This is to the house, to history.
Okay. We're not recreating anything in this house truly authentically because we can't afford to.
There are standards we have to adhere to.
We've done everything we were asked to do.
My dear,
and I've checked with the National Trust and they're happy.
They're not, Russell, please.
They are happy, I promise you.
They cannot be
I was working with Lucy yesterday. I showed her and she's happy because they're not expecting
Russell, I'm not
anything to be authentic.
I'm not happy with this design. It is,
but therefore we're saying...
It's illiterate, it's not a classical...
Therefore, are we saying Queen Anne beds that don't adhere to your idea
of
profile
not an idea.
Is incorrect?
It's the classical language.
I need to check what
but
you're
Russell,
saying.
This is not the classical language.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because many of these things don't matter.
Russell,
because we don't. What we're trying to do is create the atmosphere.
Humour me, my love.
We're trying to create the atmosphere of a Queen Anne room.
But
yes, it's important to you, and I'm trying to respect it, and I will do as you asked me to do.
Russell.
That is fine, but something will have to go to pay for it.
Relations on the team have never been so tense, but Russell agrees to go with Dan's knowledge and work starts again. It's decision day in the garden. Will the newts mean the opening is cancelled? Gina is back to break the news to David.
We spoke to the regulators and they've agreed that we can continue with the paving at the front here.
Right.
And that's on the basis that newts are very unlikely to be present on such hard compacted ground. So in order to legally proceed, we need to make sure we create them an alternative site where they can spend the winter.
I see. So the alternative site could be anywhere in the garden?
Yep, anywhere in the garden, and we can create a nice refuge for them using the rubble that you've already got here and perhaps covering it in topsoil and making a nice place for not only newts but also other amphibians and reptiles can use.
Okay. Well, thank you.
That's marvellous. Garden opening can go ahead. Laying the brick path can continue, and the volunteers have to pick up the pace to make up for lost time. The central bed is dug over and laid to lawn. The fruit trees arrive. Wicker boards to contain our compost, and the last of the plants are going in.
Okay, and next time I'll buy a smaller tree.
Over the last 6 months, the volunteers have put in over 6,000 work hours and more than 3,000 plants.
Not many to go now. Working up towards a cup of tea.
And finally, the last pot goes down. It's the evening before opening day, and for David it's time for a moment of reflection.
When I walked in here, I thought it was a bit of a disaster zone. because the garden hadn't been looked after. It was a bit of a wilderness, and to try and even think about transforming it into a walled garden in 6 months was a very, very tall order. But we've done it. We've done it.
Sleep well, David, because tomorrow the public will deliver its verdict.
It's 6 months since I first set foot in the garden. It was overgrown, uncared for, looked fairly disastrous, really. And we've had the most amazing summer. Dry in April, then rain, hardly any sun, and now, the most beautiful day, a heat wave. However, David and his band of trusty volunteers have been working throughout the so-called summer, and I can't wait to see the finished result.
Villagers and visitors have turned out in their hundreds, all impatient to get their first glimpse of our Victorian kitchen garden. I'm going to hand the honours to Jan from the National Trust.
So here we are, after 6 months, the first stage complete, the garden. So we're handing it back to you.
Thank you so much.
You can only do it once. Bravo! Let's go! Let's go! Look at this! It's lovely!
I love this purple, this nice colour.
Stunned.
Wow.
Absolutely stunned. From looking from the absolute wilderness that it was to what it is now.
Welcome. Very impressive. We hope so. Yeah. We hope you're impressed.
Yeah. We're very impressed by the grass.
By the grass.
Yeah,
yes.
I wish mine was that green.
It's come on a lot. All the finishing touches have come together really nicely.
It's a feast for the eyes as well as a feast for the plate.
The food is going down well, and so is the green hop beer.
Have you tried it?
I haven't tried it yet.
Thank you. Cheers.
You, hello.
Hello, how are you?
What do you think? What do you think?
Well, I think it's remarkable.
Yeah.
The way it's been transformed. It's very impressive.
Is that what it was like?
That's what it was like. You see, there's the house there.
Oh, yeah.
And so your mum was digging there. It's extraordinary, isn't it? What do you think?
That's amazing.
It is amazing, especially when you think...
How much work you would have done.
Exactly.
In a really short space of time.
The hope is that the garden will provide fruit and veg to the manor, as it would have in Victorian times. Let's hope it flourishes for the next 100 years.
Well, this is a great success, the garden. Wonderful. But we have 5 weeks to go till we open the house. Let's hope we get the same reaction.
Next time on the Manor Reborn.
running out of time.
It's taking twice as long as it should.
The trust get tetchy.
I'm starting to get really quite anxious now.
The beds go up, but will everything come together?
It's touch and go. That's going to go through the front door.
Last-minute deliveries.
You see where you're going, Ivor?
Carpet capers.
Oh, God. Oh.
Working through the night.
Tears and laughter. But will we ever get finished on time?
And that's all next Thursday night, but an hour earlier at 8 o'clock here on BBC One.